What is up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Anthony with VR365. What's going on? It is Monday. It is November 19th. This is Thanksgiving week. So it's going to be a little sketchatorical this week, I got to say, because here's the deal. First of all, Thursday obviously is Thanksgiving. Friday is Black Friday. And then on Wednesday, well, Wednesday's the day before Thanksgiving. And I've got a number of family-related things that are going to be going on this week. In fact, I got to pick up my mom on Wednesday. She's going to be staying with us for a couple of days. And so I might have to do my Wednesday show maybe like a half an hour early at 10:30. And the Thanksgiving Day show, I think, will probably be the same time. I'm still going to have a show on Thanksgiving. Black Friday, probably the same time, 11 a.m., and the Thanksgiving show 11 a.m. But I'm basically just saying that this week, this Thanksgiving week, might be a little hectic, might be a little sketchy. In fact, today, I actually had things that I had to do this morning, and I'm not prepared for this show. Big shocker of shockers, I know. But what I actually was going to do is when I was setting up this show, what I've been doing is I've been setting up these events so that the event will show up, you can see the event, you can hop into chat, and then bam, the event starts. There's no annoying countdown timer that I have to delete later on, all those kinds of things, right? And today when I started my event, I wanted to set it for 11:30. I wanted to give myself another half an hour to try to prepare for this episode, but it didn't let me do it. It was either 11 or 12 noon, and I didn't want to do it at 12 noon. So I said, whatever, I'll just set it for 11. I'll do the best job I can do, and we'll just go ahead and move on from there. So my apologies, but a number of things going on in the background. Both of my kids are home. That's a problem. You know, they're out of school right now, and my wife has to work, but they're out of school, and they want breakfast, and they want this, and they want that. So scrambling around a little bit for the kids. Apologies there. Okay, so let's see. What is the biggest story of the day? Well, actually, before we get into that, one of the things I wanted to talk about is yesterday, towards the very end of the show, and I'm not talking about how I accidentally left my camera running. Oh my goodness. That could have been a tragedy of all tragedies. Could you imagine? You leave your stream running. You have no idea that your stream is running. And maybe you walk around in your underwear. I mean, who knows? Anything could have happened, right? And it was funny because, going back and watching the last couple of minutes of that episode yesterday, I was like, oh my God, did I say something horrible? Did I say anything inappropriate? Did I do anything incredibly inappropriate? It could have been an utter disaster. And luckily, it wasn't too bad. I don't know if you guys checked the very end of yesterday's episode, but basically when I left and I walked into the other room, I walked out into my living room and I saw my dog, and my dog was looking at me, and I was like, oh, good little puppy, or, whatever I say to my dog. I was basically talking baby talk to my dog really loudly, and that was pretty much the worst of it. There was nothing else, no really super inappropriate comments. I wasn't sniffing some cocaine in the background or anything crazy like that. So that was such a relief. Wow, it is scary. It's crazy too, because just a couple of days ago, I was on YouTube watching some kind of video, and a video was like, you know how it'll show the videos on the side, like other suggestions of videos for you to watch. And there was a suggestion, one of the videos was like, top 10 moments where streamers accidentally left their stream going and they didn't realize it. And I just saw that like 2 or 3 days ago, and then the exact situation happens to me. But luckily, I wasn't walking around naked, or maybe unluckily, right? Maybe that would have been the viral moment that I needed to get this show out there and get people knowing about it. But either way, it's water under the bridge. Thank goodness nothing horrible happened, and we move on from that. But on yesterday's show, one of the things that I did want to say, I'm looking down here, Christian Jensen There was that one guy that forgot it too. Then he started to beat his saber. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we do not want to go down that road. And Paradise Decay says, I saw him put his tank top on. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. Jim Hall says, Anthony doing yoga VR. Yeah, I mean, it could have been really, really bad. Thank goodness it wasn't so much more worse than it ended up being. It was actually much ado about nothing. But I know people are watching in the stream because they're like, who knows what could possibly happen here? Maybe we'll hear a big argument, you know, him and his wife getting into a big argument in the other room. I mean, could you imagine if that stream was just left on for like hours and I didn't know? Oh, God, it would have been a tragedy. Or would it? It might have been great. Okay, but one of the things I was saying at the very end of our show yesterday is the VR awards. You know, like the Game Awards 2018 is having their VR awards, and I've been critical, very critical, of the nominees for Game of the Year for the VR category. And you know what? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my own Game of the Year awards. Now, that is going to be in December. I want to let all these games come out. I want to let them breathe. So I'm probably not going to do my VR Game of the Year awards until closer to Christmas, actually. You know, let all these games come out. Sometimes there's last-minute arrivals. Let's let everything come out. Let's kind of get a feel for everything and get a taste of everything. Then we can decide what the Game of the Year really is. But I've decided one of the things that I'm going to do leading up towards these Game of the Year awards is let's take a look at all these months. Let's take a look at January 2018, for example. Let's examine some of the biggest games that released in January 2018. Then we can take a look at February. We can take a look at March, April, May, and slowly but surely work our way up so we go through the entire year, all of the biggest VR games that should probably be considered, maybe possibly being in the running for Game of the Year or just very good games in the year 2018. So we're going to do that, and we're actually going to start that today. We're going to start that a little bit later today. I'm going to get into the games of January. So we have that to look forward to. But before we do that, there actually is a little bit of breaking news. And the breaking news is HTC Vive has announced a brand new headset. Oh my God, this is breaking news. I just heard about it. No. Okay. No, actually what happened is HTC has filed a patent for HTC Cosmos, the Vive Cosmos. Here it is. This is the patent, European Union Intellectual Property Office. And you can see it right here, Vive Cosmos. The certificate is 017985439. Yeah, there it is. And let's go ahead. Let me grab this thing here. Let's read what it says. So name Vive Cosmos, you know, filing number. This happened on November 15th. So this just happened. You know, they just filed for this very recently. The filing language was English, second language German. Sebastian helped filed it. No, I'm just kidding. And they're talking about, okay, this is under the category of goods and services, and it says head-mounted display for computer simulated reality, computer hardware, computer simulated reality software, computer simulated reality game software, handheld controllers, optical devices, blah, 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 blah. Even carrying cases, holders for head-mounted displays, smartphones, portable consumer, portable computers, wearable electronic devices, dog leashes. I mean, all kinds of things are in here. So does this mean that we are actually going to finally get a truly legitimate HTC Vive 2.0? Not necessarily. This could be all kinds of things. In fact, in the HTC Vive subreddit, there's a lot of people that are talking about this. They're wondering about this. And somebody in there said, hey, this could actually be a software type of a thing, like a Viveport kind of a thing. This may have absolutely nothing to do with what we really want it to have something to do with. We want a legit HTC Vive 2.0. I'm sorry, HTC Vive Pro is not a legit 2.0. It's a 1.5 at best, if even it's a 1.5, probably more of a 1.3. And you got to imagine, I mean, HTC has been in this game since the beginning pretty much. You know, they came out with their product in April of 2016. It's been a long time. We don't have a real follow-up product. What is going on here? I think we're due. I think we're overdue, but could this actually be something related to the Vive Focus? Could this be a consumer rebranding of the Vive Focus, calling it the Vive Cosmos, with the two 6 Degrees of Freedom controllers being included from the get-go, being fully integrated? Could that be the Vive Cosmos? That is something that somebody postulated, and I don't necessarily feel like they are completely off the mark. Like, that could be a very legitimate possibility. Maybe it is. Maybe it is Vive Focus related. I'm hoping it isn't. You know, I'm sure you guys are hoping it isn't. Let me go ahead and change the trailer here. We've been running this trailer for a minute, but we might as well grab a trailer. Let's see, what kind of trailer can we grab that might be kind of related to the HTC Vive? Let me see if I can find something. Where is the H's? It's not under there. Let me see. We look under Vive. Just trying to see if I can find a trailer that might be related to the HTC Vive in some way. But I'm not finding one, so I'll just throw in some other rando trailer. Never mind. So yeah, here's another rando trailer. But yeah, I kind of feel like we are overdue. And I kind of feel like it is about time that this does go down. Because here's the deal. We have the Consumer Electronics Show that is coming up in January in Las Vegas. And HTC could absolutely make an announcement there at the Consumer Electronics Show. In fact, I kind of expect that to happen. I really do. I believe we are overdue, absolutely overdue for an HTC Vive 2.0. And I think that is going to happen. I think we're going to get an announcement. So is HTC Cosmos, is this what we're talking about here? And then what about the name? Let's go back to the name for a second. What name is worse? Oculus Quest or the Vive Cosmos? It is a tight battle. It is a virtual fighting championship battle, actually. You know, this is head-to-head, Vive Cosmos or Oculus Quest. As much as I dislike the Oculus Quest, I kind of like it better than Vive Cosmos, to be completely honest with you. But, you know, if it is the Vive Cosmos, that's cool. I don't have a problem with that. And then the other question that we have to kind of consider, remember the leak. Let's remember this amazing leak that happened very, very recently with the Valve HMD, the mystery HMD with the AR pass-through, with the special slot in the front where you can pop your game cartridges right in there. You know, we had that leak recently, and it's not completely inconceivable that that headset could have an HTC logo on it. That could be the Vive Cosmos. Maybe HTC and Valve are still very tightly integrated, and maybe, you know, maybe HTC's just been waiting for finalized Knuckles and a finalized Lighthouse 2.0, and maybe the Vive Cosmos is going to include the whole shebang, and maybe we're going to find out all about this in January, early January, at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. So that is something to be slightly hyped on. Don't know if that's really what's going to happen here, but we're overdue. We are way overdue for a major announcement from HTC, a legitimate 2.0. And then the good news is, when we do get this legitimate 2.0, then the Vive Pro can be a low-cost headset that can compete more directly with the Oculus Rift. Maybe get down to the $499 range for the Vive Pro, and then we have a new high-end 2.0 Vive Cosmos headset that is replacing it. It's possible. It is entirely possible. Andy Sky says, who wants to support money-hungry HTC? Charles Van Nolan says, I don't think Valve is interested in doing a Vive 2.0 with HTC anymore. Hussein X, the Chinese are forced to buy Vive due to lack of options there. T-Dub, maybe HTC and Steam are drifting apart if the Steam HMD is legit. Well, we still don't know. Again, we still don't know that Valve is really going to manufacture this physical product, a full-on HMD. It's a bit different than a controller. It's a bit different than like the Steam controller or some of the things. I mean, are they really going to manufacture an HMD themselves and put it in a box and ship it to end-level consumers? I don't know. That kind of seems like a stretch. I kind of feel like the Valve HMD, I feel like there is a silent partner that is working with Valve that will kind of handle the manufacturing of that, putting it in a box. It could be LG, it could be HTC. Look, we would love Valve to really distance themselves from HTC because their consumer support has been absolutely god-awful. I mean, there's no question about it. Just terrible. I mean, we thought Comcast was one of the worst companies in the United States, but HTC has really given them a run for their money. You know, Electronic Arts, Comcast, and HTC. What do these three companies have in common? And we would love Valve to distance themselves, but Valve, I'm sure they're well aware of the consumer, the problems there with support, and they've probably complained to HTC management, but HTC management could come back to them and say, you know what? We're improving that. We're fixing that. Don't believe all the horror stories. We're changing that. And Valve could be like, okay, sure, we believe you. And, you know, they might need a partner. This is where it might go. Stuart Gregerson said, would they really be filing the trademark halfway through November if it was related to something they were about to announce? Well, yes, maybe so, Stuart Gregerson, because look what happened. Vive Cosmos is out there. It is in the Ethernet now. I mean, the Ethernet, it's in the ether. It's not in, well, it is in your Ethernet as it traveled to your computer, but it's out there in the ether. People know about the Vive Cosmos. It's on Upload VR, Vive Cosmos. It's on Road to VR, Vive Cosmos. It's in the title of this video, Vive Cosmos. So that's why you wait until maybe the last possible minute. Now, November 15th is a lot, you know, it's ahead of when the Consumer Electronics Show begins in early January. You know, I haven't checked. Does anybody have the date for when let me see if I can look that up real quick. I don't know the exact date of when the Consumer Electronics Show does start. You know, it's usually January. I mean, it just depends on, you know, it just depends on like the different days in January here. CES 2019. Let's see if we can find out. Okay, January 8th. Okay, the 2019 International CES begins on Tuesday, January 8th. And so you might say, well, man, November 15th is way ahead of Tuesday, January 8th. But there could be some legal entanglements, some reasons where they have to do that before they officially announce it. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how it works. Charles Van Nolen is talking about the Facebook Quest, the Chex Quest, Facebook Face Portal, Paul Smith. So a lot of people are throwing out random names of possible future products. Charles Van Nolen, the Apple Sky. That actually sounds relatively decent there, Apple Sky. Charles Van Nolen says, look, Valve has invested in tons of manufacturing stuff, and that is something that we've found out about recently, that Valve does have some kind of manufacturing facility. And actually, I think there's some company that mentioned that they're working on something very special with Valve. They're helping Valve manufacture something very special, but they can't talk about it. You know, we've heard some little rumors about that. We've heard some whispers about that. Charles Van Nolen says the HTC deal was just opportunism to get VR out there. Now they are confident they can pick the market up from there. Or they may be confident that they have another silent partner, a better silent partner, possibly LG, possibly, who knows, maybe Toshiba or somebody. You know, there's some other companies out there that could possibly get involved in this. I'm looking for another trailer to throw on because I've had this trailer running a little too long. So we'll throw on this neon trailer, pretty beautiful, like this. Did anybody play this like neon VR? This one came out earlier this month, and it kind of hit with a very silent thump. Like, I really didn't hear it. But there's tons of VR games like this, right, that we don't hear anything about. But why don't we go ahead? Let's check the local news, the different news places. Let's see what the headlines are looking like here. And so I'm going to go over to everybody's favorite website. I mean, the absolute favorite website on the internet. And that, of course, is Upload VR. Okay, so here we are on Upload VR. Now, their #1 story of the day, Black Friday 2018, the best VR deals you can find. And yeah, there are a number of deals out there. I think there's even some minor discounts on the HTC Vive Pro. Oculus has filed a patent for a MagSafe-like Rift cable. Haven't checked that out yet. Covert review, Oculus Go makes a poor partner in crime. That sounds kind of bad. You know, I actually have my hands on Covert, and I do want to play this, but it does require a second person. It absolutely requires another person to be in the room with you on an iPhone or a tablet or something like that. And I'm getting that app on my phone, and I'm going to have one of my kids, you know, I'm going to force them at gunpoint to sit down on the sofa and try to be the operator so I can get into Covert and kind of give my take on Covert. So hopefully that will be coming soon. But just looking at the title of this review here, Oculus Go makes for a poor partner in crime. So that doesn't sound too great. Oh, the other thing I also wanted to talk about real quick. Remember, I said my homework assignment was to try PokerStars VR on the Oculus Go and to also try Crow the Legend on Oculus Go and kind of give my comparison. Okay, PokerStars VR is not on the Go. There are a couple of poker games on the Go, but not PokerStars VR. So just wanted to clarify that. And in regards to Crow the Legend, we're going to get to that in just a second. We'll wait a second for that. So just hold on a moment here. Beat Saber PSVR won't have custom songs, but new music to come regularly. Yeah, we did find out that Spotify, it's not going to work. There's some kind of licensing thing. We already know that Google is exploring VR shoes with tiny motorized wheels. We've heard about that already. So I don't know. Okay, this is, okay, HTC shaving $200 off. Okay, so this is actually a relatively decent discount. We'll get into that in just a second, but here it is. HTC files trademark for Vive Cosmos. We don't know what this is, but yeah, it is being reported right here. Okay, now let's go ahead and check this out. I actually did not check this out. Like I said, super busy this morning. My apologies. Just had some family things going on, and it's going to be like that this Thanksgiving week. I'm just letting people know. HTC is shaving $200 off the price of its most expensive VR headset for Black Friday. The Vive Pro full kit will cost $11.99. Wow, such a major discount. Do I buy that new hot tub or do I get the Vive Pro full kit? They're both $11.99, you know? So $1,200 starting on November 23rd through November 26th. I mean, are we all going to be rushing to our browsers, constantly refreshing so we can get this incredible deal to pay $1,200 for this bundle? I'm sure we're all going to be doing that, right? I mean, sure, we could buy a Samsung Odyssey Plus for basically like 1/4 of that, but no, we're not going to do that. We're going to get this bundle because we love that new metallic blue. Looks super cool. The controllers are blue as well. I mean, how awesome is that? You get the new base stations, right? That's one bonus out of there. But yeah, so, and then there's $100 off the Vive Pro all by itself, which brings that down to $699. Again, another great bargain. It doesn't look like there's going to be any deals on the regular Vive at $499 or the recently launched standalone Vive Focus. So, you know, I mean, I'm kind of like being a bit of an ass here about this. I mean, they are dropping it $200. That is kind of cool. You know, not too bad. So I shouldn't really hate on that. Borderlands has another cool live action trailer. Is this different than the one that we just saw? That'll be a trailer that I'll have to grab. And, you know, that's pretty much the news that's going on over here on the websites. Well, on Upload VR anyways. So I'm going to go back over here to our standard mode. And I'll take a quick look at some comments in chat. Bullet H says, HTC, it's in the name, had their chance. Next. Okay, so it's kind of like Ariana Grande, right? Andy Sky is saying HTC is done because Valve is doing VR headset now. Christian Jensen says, and with Gaben comment about the Nintendo way of making games and hardware. Sure, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Valve isn't working with LG or somebody. I mean, Valve may do it, they may do it, but I wouldn't necessarily bank on that. Bullet Ape says the Valve manufacturing upgrades seem real. Either they are bringing out the headset or going to Mars, one of the two. Okay, Paradise Decay says, Anthony, I played Crow the Legend today and it was fantastic. Okay, so why don't we talk about Crow the Legend real quick, briefly here, because on the VR Roundtable show yesterday, let me throw on a Crow the Legend trailer. And I'll throw on this is a behind-the-scenes trailer that Upload VR did. Again, our favorite website here, Upload VR. Much love to Upload VR, because I do use them for so much. You know, I really do. I take a lot of their news headlines and all of that, so I will give some love where love is due. But basically, in regards to Crow the Legend, on VR Roundtable, I was quite shocked that Gary wasn't very impressed with it, and Chris wasn't very impressed with it. But then I found out that they tried it on the Oculus Go. They did not try it on the Oculus Rift. And I think that was the big difference. But I wasn't sure, so I felt like, you know what? I got to jump into the Oculus Go myself. I need to try Crow the Legend on the Oculus Go so I can kind of have a bit of a head-to-head comparison of these two. And so I did that. I jumped into my Oculus Go yesterday. I tried Crow the Legend, and you know what? It is a very different experience. There really is no comparison. It's very, in fact, it's even a bigger difference, I feel, than Henry. I think it's a bigger difference than Henry. If you've tried Henry on an Oculus Rift and then you try Henry on the Oculus Go, it's definitely watered down. But if you're not paying really close attention to it, it's not quite as watered down as you might expect. Like they really kind of like squeezed a lot of juice out of that nugget there and made it work on the Oculus Go as far as Henry is concerned. Although it is a downgrade, but the Crow is a much bigger downgrade. Crow, Christian Jensen says, is Crow Rift only? Well, right now it's Oculus only. You can try it on your Rift, you can try it on your Go, but absolutely try it on your Oculus Rift. It is not the same on the Oculus Go. It's basically a 360 video. They do a pretty good job for the most part, but it's not the same, man. You try it on the Oculus Rift, it's running in a real, it's running in real time. It's running in an engine, in a game engine. They're trying to kind of make it a little bit Pixar. They have these characters there. They're very 3D, that you can kind of move around a little bit. You have legit hand presence, and that's a major difference. I don't want to spoil the Crow, but early on in the Crow, you're actually going to use your Oculus Touch controllers. If you're playing this on the Rift, you have these like branches that where your hands would be, and you kind of like move the branches around, and it creates some little effects. And when you do that on the Oculus Go, they bypass that section. You're not doing that at all because they have the 3 degrees of freedom controller, so they don't even attempt it. And it's incredibly watered down on the Go. So it's like two different experiences. Now the thing is, if you try it on the Go first and then you go to the Rift, you're probably going to be like, well, yeah, this is better, but the reason why you're not going to be as impressed though is because you've already had it kind of ruined on the Go. It's kind of unfortunate in that way, because you really got to try it on the Rift. So that was my thought on there. Let's see if anybody's talking about this a little bit. Fluke says, I tried that World War I trench experience on the Go that the dev was posting for keys. It's terrible. Awful frame rate and a masterclass in how not to do movement in VR. I did see that news headline that was on, I believe it was on the Vive subreddit, maybe is where I saw it, but or no, maybe it might have been on Oculus. And I thought, that's kind of interesting, because it seems like they would be able to put you into a World War I trench and kind of give you a feel for what that's like. Oh, yeah, we do have StarVR news. We'll get to that in just a second. And let's see, I was just seeing if anybody else tried the Crow on either system. Okay, Charles Van Nolan says, I just downloaded Crow last night on my Rift, and he says the reviews for Crow on Go were kinda meh. Blurry video quality. Yeah, I did notice the blurry video quality. I believe when I downloaded Crow the Legend, when I forget what it's called here. When I downloaded Crow the Legend on the Go, I believe it was like 900 and something megabits. It was just a little bit under a gig, and so I thought it would be kind of clean and crisp, but not really. I just didn't think it looked all that good. Main Fan says, know what I couldn't get over in Crow? Animals flying in space, yet them singing and talking doesn't bother me. Yeah, I was like that whole part when the Crow, minor spoilers, I guess, the Crow is actually flying out in outer space, flying past the moon, flying by the sun. You're thinking, yeah, how is this Crow going to breathe out here? And then even the sun makes a comment like, birds aren't supposed to be in outer space. You better get back down to the earth, or whatever he says. Yeah, I kind of thought about that too. Paradise Decay says, I 100% recommend the Rift, not the Go, unfortunately. And you cannot interact with the Go. And interaction is part of the charm. It definitely is. But Main Fan, he counters that by saying, yeah, but it's just mindless hand waving though. But I don't know. I feel like if you get your wife into it and she's moving her hands around and doing some of that stuff, I think it does add a little bit more. And Paul Smith is bringing up Berlin 1943 was a pretty good experience for feeling like what this war thing is really all about. And I kind of agree with that. Yeah, the Berlin 1943, like going back to that experience, that one really reminds me, I mean, that's a great way to show historical situations, especially when you have audio of a historical event. And all you have is that audio, and then you try to create a VR experience around that. I think that's actually a damn good idea, and hopefully there's other studios that will pick up that ball and run with it, because I do believe that that is a pretty damn good idea. Okay, let's go back over here. Let's see if we can find... I know there's news about the StarVR headset. So I'm going over here to Rode VR. Let me just go ahead and... I think this is refreshed. Let's just see what StarVR is talking about. So HTC is urging Ryzen users experiencing issues to return their purchase, return their wireless adapter. Ouch, that's kind of harsh. Titanic VR, the educational thing, is landing on PlayStation VR this week. It's kind of nice that PlayStation VR is getting some of these educational things. Like, I really want to see Crow the Legend, and like, where's all the Google Spotlight stories? Why don't those go to PSVR? Because I think all of them, none of them are really pushing the technology of PC VR. I think they could all run absolutely fine on PlayStation VR, and it'd be nice to see those make the transition over there as well. The Samsung holiday deal, we know all about that, and now we know about the Vive Pro special bundle, and that's pretty much it. So, it doesn't appear like anybody's really talking about this news here in regards to the Vive. I was just going to check Arthan's VR. So, you know what, I don't have, let's see, let's go to the Oculus subreddit here. I wanted to get the news on StarVR because there is major news. Basically, oh, here it is. StarVR 1 Developer Edition to be priced at $3,200. So that is the news that we found out. StarVR, $3,200. And that's kind of a surprise, don't you think? I mean, I think a lot of us were thinking $5,000 maybe for the StarVR headset. There's going to be some of you guys out there, some of you guys that are just rolling in dough. Some of you guys, let me see if I have a StarVR trailer of some type. I don't remember if I do, but I'll look real quick. But yeah, some of you guys, I mean, $3,200, it's a lot of money. It sure is. It's a ton of money to throw out there at something like that. And yeah, I'm not seeing a StarVR trailer, but I'll go ahead and throw on a different trailer anyways. But $3,200, that's like buying a used car, a pretty, halfway decent used car, but if you're really, really, really into VR, if this is your bag, baby, and this is what you're all about, what is $3,200 between friends? You know, it's not much of anything, right? $3,200 is a drop in the bucket. I mean, no, it's not. It's a hell of a lot of money. I mean, think how many $199 Oculus Go's you could grab for that, or how many Black Friday PSVR deals you can grab for $3,200. You could have your entire block outfitted with Oculus Go's. Not quite, but pretty close, right? But what I'm trying to say here is if this is your real hobby, like if this is your number one hobby, I mean, people buy motorcycles, Harley Davidsons, you know, because that's their bag. People go on trips to Tahiti. You know, they go on trips to the Bahamas. They go on trips to Australia, $5,000 trips. And, you know, they come back and they have their memories, but after that, they don't have anything to show for it. So what is $3,200? If you're really, really, really into this, and if this is the headset to kill all headsets for the foreseeable future, and if you can basically run Steam VR games on the StarVR headset, which I believe you can, right? Why not go down this road? So I wouldn't be completely shocked out of my mind to see a few people go down that road. $3,200, it is a lot, but I do believe it could happen for somebody. So checking over here into chat, yeah, Paul Smith says Google Earth is the single biggest thing that is missing from PSVR. Yeah, I wonder if Google, like Google and Sony, is there anything Google that's on the Sony platform? I can't think of anything. I wonder if there's a little bit of animosity between those two companies, or if they're, you know, I'm not sure why, or it could be a Sony thing. It could be some kind of Sony requirement that we don't see that, because Google Earth is, you know, Google is fine putting all their stuff on Steam. You know, they're fine with that. Charles Van Nolan says, if StarVR was smart, they'd be sending headsets to devs for free, like Oculus. Well, that's a very expensive thing to send away for free. Remember, StarVR, really what it's meant for is location-based VR entertainment. They basically want to be the type of people, they want to provide the headset to the Void and to Disney and to theme parks and to everybody that is going to be making location-based VR centers. They want to be the premier headset that all of these places will use, and so that's kind of their focus there. They don't really care about developers as far as I can see. Jason Walker says, at $3,200, Steve will probably only be able to buy one or two. Yeah, no, I don't think Steve is going to, like, Steve is tempted at all of this stuff. Don't get it twisted. Steve is starting to turn into a collector. He really likes to collect these things. Got to catch them all. But $3,200, that is a hefty sum of change. But I could see somebody maybe getting a loan. You know what'd be funny, though, is like StarVR, if they offered the same kind of interest-free loan that Magic Leap is doing. Like Magic Leap has this interest-free loan deal that I think goes for like 18 months or something. So you can just pay your Magic Leap off interest-free over an 18-month period to make that initial hit seem a lot less severe. And that could be something StarVR could do if they were going to try to go after a little bit more of the consumer market, but I don't think they're really going to be involved with that. Andy Sky says StarVR is not a software business, so why would they do that? Yeah, I kind of agree with this. Main Fan said, I'd only get it if eye tracking foveated rendering really works in Steam VR. Well, one of the good news is, we know that either Martin or Sebastian, I mean, they might not buy a StarVR for themselves, but you know they're going to get their hands on one at some point when this thing actually leaks out. They're going to find somebody in Germany, somebody in Switzerland or Italy or somewhere, some well-heeled individual that grabs one of these StarVR headsets, and they're going to run it through its paces and run it through a lot of Steam VR games. Maybe try to see, can you run it in Revive? Can you play an Oculus Rift exclusive on it? They're going to do all of that, and we definitely will look forward to the results. But anyway, so one of the things I did want to get in today, like I was saying a little bit earlier, I want to do this Game of the Year awards thing, and I want to kind of spread it out over the rest of this month of November and into December, so we can slowly but surely celebrate the best games of 2018. But before you celebrate the best games of 2018, you got to consider a handful of games that you think are 2018 releases, but they're not. And I wanted to cover a few of those really quickly. And one of those happens to be Orbis VR. So Orbis VR, I mean, this is a game that has really gotten a lot of excitement and a lot of pub recently this year. This game continues to rank pretty highly in the Vive Top 200 and the Oculus Rift Top 200. Orbis VR is always on a lot of submissions, and I think part of the reason is it's a freaking online it's a massively multiplayer game in VR that actually freaking kind of works, and there's so many people that are so dedicated to massively, like, this is their dream. Their ultimate dream is the perfect MMO in VR, and while this might not be perfect, it's good enough for a lot of these people, and that's why it ranks really high. And I don't know, I've always kind of thought of this game as a 2018 game, but it didn't actually come out in 2018. I think it came out like around December 17th of 2017. So Orbis VR will not be one of the games that we are considering in the Game of the Year awards for 2018. So I just wanted to highlight that one. And I have two others that I also wanted to bring up real quick that are not 2018 games, although you might think they are. And here's another one. How about Standout VR Battle Royale? Yeah, I've mostly heard a lot of talk about Standout in the year 2018, but this was actually another December game. Another December game that came out in 2017, just before the new year, but didn't get a lot of hype, didn't get a lot of run in the press, didn't get a lot of didn't get a lot of publicity and a lot of awareness until we got more into January and February. And then that's when we started to get a lot of awareness for Standout. But this is a 2017 game, so this will not be considered, even though a lot of people first discovered it in 2018. And the last one that I wanted to feature real quick here as a game that actually came out in 2018, although you might not know it, is Unnightly. Yes, so Unnightly actually came out on like November 30th into early access. And but a lot of people haven't discovered Unnightly until like January, February, March. They start hearing about Unnightly. They think it's a 2018 game, but it isn't really a 2018 game. Okay, I'm going to mute myself for a second here. I got to clear my throat real. Yes, that is very annoying when you got to clear your throat in a proper way. Sometimes you got to hit that mute button and handle it. But yeah, Unnightly, a pretty solid game, a good game. Upload VR talks about this game quite a bit, done a number of stories on this game recently, but not a 2018 release. So we do need to remember that. Okay, now let me get my information up on the games of January 2018. We can go ahead and run through. There are four major games that came out in January of this year to consider. And I believe earlier in chat, I think Charles Van Nolan mentioned In Death. But guess what? In Death actually missed January. Yes, In Death was scheduled to come out in late January, but it got delayed. It got delayed several days, and it actually came out on February 1st. So In Death will be covered on the next episode when we get into this feature. We're not going to cover In Death right now. However, what we are going to do is we're going to talk about a game that came out on January 20th, and I think this one does need to be considered in the running for a possible VR Game of the Year. What am I talking about? I'm talking about Primordium. Yes, I think this was definitely one of the absolute biggest games to arrive in January. And another thing I probably should mention here is if a game is available in early access, if it is taking money that is when it was released, in my opinion. And we have to be careful with all these different release dates because games come out in early access, they're out in early access for 7 or 8 months, and then they come out of early access and now they're officially available, and now their release date says something completely different 7 months later. I'm not playing that game. If your game is available and you're taking money, then your game is out there as far as I'm concerned. And so, yeah, Primordial entered early access on January 20th. That's the way we're counting it. So we're not any of the like games that were available in 2017, but they finally came out of early access in 2018. No. We're not counting that. So just so it's understood. But Primordial, I mean, going back to January, definitely one of the biggest games I felt that was available in January. I was incredibly impressed with this game when I first got my hands on it, just walking through that magical jungle, that avatar jungle, kind of like a Predator thing. And then when you go into the super slow-mo, when you get into the combat, a magical world, really awesome. And actually, we're kind of blessed. If you guys jump into the VR365 Discord channel, our Discord server, the primary guy that is making this game, he comes in there quite a bit and chats with us every now and then. Stonepunk Studios, the primary guy that did this, and it's basically one dude. It's like an artist at Blizzard, a former Blizzard artist that pretty much has done Primordial almost single-handedly, and just absolutely incredible, phenomenal achievement. I mean, how freaking lackluster are we as human individuals? If one individual person can do this, what the hell are we doing? What do we have to show for what we've been using our time on? This guy has made a freaking kick-ass VR if nothing else, it's a kick-ass VR demo to show off VR to your friends and family. Put them into this jungle and let them check it out. So that is Primordial. That is January 20th. Absolutely going to be considered, in my opinion, in the mix. I mean, is it gonna nab Game of the Year? Probably not. And a lot of these games probably aren't. But I just want to give recognition, recognition to some of this stuff. Okay, what was the next biggest game in the month of January to hit? And that would be on January 23rd. This is a PlayStation VR exclusive, and it is called The Inpatient. Now, the truth of the matter is, The Inpatient is probably better known for being a major disappointment than anything else. And the reason it's such a disappointment really is because we had such incredibly high hopes. Super massive games. I mean, these are the guys that brought us Until Dawn, Rush of Blood. These are the guys that brought us Tumble VR. Two really, really, really good VR games on PlayStation VR. And if you guys don't know about Tumble VR, you're missing out. If you recently grabbed a PlayStation VR to play Astrobot and to kind of see what's going on this damn PSVR that Anthony keeps yapping about, grab yourself Tumble VR. You usually can get it for like $3. I think it's a great game. You only need to have one Move controller to play it. It's kind of like Jenga. It's a puzzle game. Production values up the yin-yang. Really good sound and everything. So there was this pedigree, and that's why we were so hyped for the arrival of The Inpatient on January 23rd to PlayStation VR, but it was rather disappointing. But still, having said that, we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Part of our disappointment, too, was the price. The Inpatient was $39.99. It was $40, and it was a very short thing. And the first half of it was almost not even interactive. It was more of a VR experience for the first half of it. So you're like, $40? Really? This doesn't freaking make sense to me. And so a lot of hate got thrown on The Inpatient. But the truth of the matter is, it's not that bad. It's pretty freaking solid. The Inpatient, that arrived in January. Ignore that date that just showed on there. That is incorrect. Okay, now another January release, and this is probably the smallest one of these four that I'm going to cover here today as far as January releases. This is a bit of a smaller one, but I know some people really dig this game, so I will mention this. Okay, this is called... Is it Cube VR? Is the Y silent? I don't know. I made the mistake with the Chicago Cubs. I was talking about that game Cubes, which is like stand-up Tetris. So now I'm kind of nervous. Like, when I look at this, I see Sayub VR, and you're like, okay, we're going to name our game Sayub VR. Does it make a lot of sense? No, but maybe the Y is basically silent, and they're basically saying, look, this is Cube VR. So this is kind of like Minecraft. This is from Stone Brick Studios, Stone Brick Studios, and this arrived on January 26 onto Steam. And a lot of people that are really into Minecraft style games, world building kind of games, and this kind of a fashion, some people really dig this. Some people really got into Sayub, Cube VR, whatever you want to call it. I've actually never ever played this, but I know that there is a segment of people out there that are pretty into this. So this was another January release. What is this game's chances of making VR Game of the Year? Pretty much nil, but it's a big game. I mean, relatively big game that did come out in January 2018, so I did want to highlight that one very briefly. So if you have a lot of love for that, you can go ahead and jump in a chat and talk about it. And then the last big VR game, in my opinion, and when I'm talking about VR games, I'm talking about the Vive, I'm talking about the Rift, and I'm talking about PlayStation VR. I'm not really covering Oculus Go or Gear VR or anything like that. That is a different category, and I'm not going to really cover that. But the last big game to arrive in January, and it actually arrived on the final day, and it was exclusive to the Oculus Store, and that is Kin. And Kin comes to us from House of Secrets. Now, what kind of pedigree does House of Secrets have? Well, they have a pretty good pedigree, because do you guys remember that music video in VR called Surge, or Surge VR? That music video was pretty freaking cool, and that was House of Secrets, and this was their first attempt at a game, and it was exclusive to the Oculus Store. In fact, don't quote me on this, but this never came to Steam, right? This isn't available on Steam. Now, you can grab this on your Oculus Go, and I kind of recommend, if you have an Oculus Go, you might want to actually play Kin on your Go, because it's such a good port of the game. You have to have a controller. You have to pair a controller to play this. It's such a pretty damn good port that you might want to do it on your Go instead of your Rift. But this came out on the final day of January of January 31st, 2018. This did arrive on the Oculus Store as an exclusive. Kin, I believe when it first arrived, it was like 15 bucks, so pretty good deal there. I'm a fan of this. I like this game. I love the music. I love the color and everything. It's not a technological stunner. It doesn't scream, oh, this is PC VR power. You know, it doesn't scream that at all. And the one suggestion I would like for Kin, like the one thing I think this game is missing a little bit, I kind of wish I could zoom. I wish I could zoom in and zoom out, you know, because sometimes I feel like I'm really far away from the little character that's running around on screen. Now, of course, if you're playing this on your Rift, you could just take your head and actually get down there and look at that character and zoom in on it and see the little detail as that the little girl is like running around, hopping and jumping and battling these guys. I was a fan. I'm a fan of Kin. I liked it. I played it on my Rift early on in January. Was a big fan of that. So basically the four games that we're talking about here in January, we're talking about Primordian, we're talking about The Inpatient, we're talking about Cube VR or Sayub VR, and we're talking about Kin. That was pretty much the big stuff in January of 2018. Kind of a light month, you know, not a lot of heavy hitters. If I had to say what my game of that month was, I'd give it to Primordian. Absolutely. I mean, not even a question in my mind. Primordian wins January 2018, in my opinion. Because remember, In Death was a little bit late. So In Death is bumping into February. And when we cover February is pretty damn strong. So we're going to be covering February maybe tomorrow. It'll depend. Basically, the way we're going to play this, on slow news days, if we don't have a lot of news, we can get into this game of the year kind of discussion going from January all the way through to December, and basically taking a look at all the biggest games that have come to the primary VR platforms in 2018. And so that's pretty much that. Now, what we can do now is I can go back over here to chat, see what some folks are talking about. Paradise Decay says, hey man, Primordian just had another major update today. Well, speak of the devil. It's great timing. And Charles Van Nolan says, hell, I didn't even get a Rift until a week or two after New Year's. Phil Urine says, if I could get the Vive for $350, I'd buy it just for the base stations and stuff to be ready for a future headsets that utilize that setup. That does kind of make sense. And Push the Button says, I'm going to try to buy StarVR. If so, then I will get it before my Pimax 5K Plus. That is crazy if it actually happens. And Showgame says, I have Primordian, still haven't tried it. Oh my God, what are you doing? Showgame, get up in there, because I'll tell you what, Primordian, if nothing else, is 15 minutes of power. It really is. I think Primordian is a beautiful experience to have at like some kind of like E3 show, or even like a VR arcade or something like that, because in that initial experience of playing Primordian, you're looking around this jungle, you're like, holy crap, this looks cool. I'm inside a sci-fi movie. And then when you get to that first combat and it goes slow-mo and the sound is like, you know, and you're in slow-mo and you're battling these weird predator creatures. So awesome. Really love Primordian. Definitely my game of January 2018. But Paradise Decay says, look, Kin is superb as well. I'm a fan of Kin. And Andy Sky says, Revive okay for Kin? I imagine it would. Andy, do you have a Go? Because I'd play Kin on the Go. I think Kin is a great game for Go. And Showgame says, okay, F it. I'm going to try Primordian right after this stream. And Chris Cox says, the dev for Primordian is incredible. No idea how he releases so much high-quality stuff. Yeah, the dev for Primordian, again, have you guys ever been to our Discord server? Go ahead, come in. There's an invitation that's in our show notes right now. All you got to do is, you know, create a Discord account. And once you have a Discord account created, you just click on that invitation to our Discord server and bam, you are dialed in. You can come into our Discord server. We have a number of different little sub channels that you can talk in where we're talking different things. We kind of have an off topic. We have a VR and casual discussion. We got VR general. We got news. We got a developer corner, and that's where the developer Stonepunk Studios every once in a while will come in and comment. He's a gamer as well. You know, he's playing this VR stuff as well, and still making incredible games. And you know, every time I think about how a single individual person does so much, I start to feel bad, because I'm like, damn, what am I doing with my life? This guy created Primordian. You know, I tend to feel bad. Oh, you know what I did forget about? Okay, so we're pretty much out of here. It's been about an hour. And preparation is overrated, right? I mean, it really is, because I really wasn't too prepared for this. I wanted to delay this show till 11:30, but I didn't, and I was able to survive. So that was kind of cool. But one of the things I wanted to say real quick is subscribe. Subscribe to the channel, please. We know we always see the numbers. Lots of people watch this show and for whatever reason don't subscribe. Just go ahead and subscribe. We don't hammer you with all kinds of garbage, so don't worry about that. You can subscribe. You just find out about our new episodes. You'll get announcements, like if there's a time change and stuff, you'll know about that. So it's nice to subscribe. Be sure to like the video if you like it. That helps in a major way. And you know what we can really use, and so I'm talking more so not to everybody in chat right now, but I'm talking more so to those of you that watch this show after the fact. Go ahead and leave a comment. Tell us what you think about the episode of the day, some of the things that we talked about, anything that you're passionate about that particular episode. Like this one, you might have a comment about StarVR. You might have a comment about the Vive Cosmos. You might have a comment about what the hell is HTC doing right now. Or maybe you got a comment about the games of January 2018. Maybe I forgot something that is mission critical and you want to shout it out. Go ahead, leave a comment. I am going to take, I'm actually going to do a much better job, I promise you, of taking a look at some of these comments and featuring them in future shows. I've got to do a better job of that, but leave comments. It helps us, like the video, all those kinds of things. But that's going to go ahead and do it, guys. It's been another episode. Today was Monday. It was November, well, it is November 19th. It still is November 19th. Now let's see if I can get out of this show without leaving my cameras running for 2 hours, because I don't want to, I want to run around in my underwear, but I don't want you guys to see it, okay? So I got to go ahead and do that, but that's going to go ahead and do it. So let me get my thing together here so I can actually stop the show this time, and that's going to go ahead and do it. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow around 11 a.m. Pacific time. I will see everybody then. Take it easy. Later.